So we're fitting in, again, the performance membranes. They're lucky enough with their link with ProClimate to be able to use their facility to record our podcast, with ProClimate now being a major sponsor of our show. So we're greatly appreciable, is that the word? Fuck, I've screwed that up already, for their help.
You're tertiary educated. What's the word, Andre?
Appreciative, that's the word. So
Joel wouldn't have known.
Yeah, anyway, we are super lucky with our guest today. Someone we've been speaking to for a while, we've been working with for a long time, to come on. And you would know him as Joel's brother, Andre. So
that's fantastic. It's a fantastic intro. Thanks, Matt.
So we don't need the
Joel's
story at BINQ. We don't need to know who you are because Joel's already told it on this podcast. So
do you know what?
Yeah.
Total jokes. Andre, we are going to give you an opportunity.
The real story.
to introduce you to our audience and maybe give the real story behind BINQ and who you are and how you got to where you are now.
Sure. Can I first start off though? I just want to set the scene. So from this point forward, I'll be referring to Joel Heidebuild as the flog.
The flog.
Okay. And you're the boring brother and the flog. That's
Correct.
How we're getting it?
That's it.
Is that what the episode's called?
That's actually a great title.
The boring brother and the flog. Matt and I have just both written that down. Who are you, Andre?
How far back do you want to go?
I reckon go back, because your journey, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's not linear. You know, I reckon if we had a conversation with you 30 years ago, you probably wouldn't say to him, oh, well, I'm going to own a window company in the high performance space. Am I right in saying that?
Oh, mate, 100%. 100%. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do, what that was going to look like for a very, very long time. I was living at mum and dad's till I was in my mid-20s. Still really struggling to understand, what I wanted to do. I always had just an underlying ambition, but it was really misplaced. I just didn't know what to do with it, I followed the normal path. I did year 12, got good grades. I was always academically capable, lazy like most other boys. So I got the score I needed, went to university, kind of got a little bit lost there. Again, I was there because I was kind of told, meant to believe that that's what I should be doing, and did it, and kind of just scraped by, to be honest.
What was the degree that you were in?
So I did a double degree in IT and accounting.
Okay.
Look, I didn't really enjoy the accounting side of it at all. Again, I just didn't have any perspective. I couldn't put it into real terms, so just couldn't understand why it was important or why it would be good for me. In hindsight, if I were to do it now, I think I'd get a lot more benefit and more enjoyment out of that, just from the business side of things. But at the time, I found the practicality of the IT side of things a lot more appealing. And so I kind of sunk my teeth into that. Anyway, finished that. Again, had no idea what I wanted to do, and I actually left Australia and went to the UK, lived in London for 12 months. And a large part of that was breaking free of the shackles of the ethnic, very tight family unit.
I can see that you guys are a pretty tight family still.
Yeah, look, we are. We are a very, very tight family. And when particularly myself and my brothers, if we're in a room together, it is like a fish market. I mean, there'd be 4 of us and there'd be 6 conversations, right? And it's just on, right? We're taking the piss out of each other. We're usually just laughing at stupid shit, right? And we love it. We're all type A personalities too.
Are your parents like that?
Yeah, they are actually. My mum and dad, my dad especially, massive party animal.
Right.
That's where Joel gets it from.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I want to clarify that. Joel gets the party animal side from dad. He gets he doesn't really get the charisma necessarily from dad.
Yep.
He gets that from you?
Yeah, clearly.
That's learned behaviour from you. Yeah.
No, actually, it's the dark horse is my mum.
Right.
right? In a very typical ethnic sort of a setting, it's dad and he's the top of the queue and all the rest of it, and mum's just in the background.
You're
doing all
Sri
the stuff,
Lankan,
right?
is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't want this episode to be like hijacked by Joel.
Yeah.
He is a funny dude. He's got a really amusing social media account.
Yeah.
And yes, he is a big personality, but there's obviously like a level of intelligence that runs through all of you, because even though Joel might come across as this kind of larrikin tradie guy, he's a pretty deep thinker, even though it's kind of laid with a bit of comedy, because there is some like important topics that he is touching on. And I do want to then swing it back to you too, because I do want to know, does that kind of run through that family, like the kind of level of intelligence? I mean, he says, you're the smart one, right? But there's levels of
Different
intelligence
smart.
and levels of intelligence. Are all you four boys?
There's actually 5 boys in the family.
5 boys. Yeah. Wow.
Do you ever, because going ahead to go back, because you had a lot of Instagram followers, but your account got hacked and you lost them all.
Correct.
Do you ever remind him that you still had more?
I actually forgot that was the case, but thank you for reminding me, because the next time I see him, I'll definitely have a little jab.
Yeah.
I do remember that. That was in COVID.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what that was. I'll take your word for it. But it was horrible, and it just got completely shut down. We just lost everything, like all that hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, we got it back without too much time, because I guess that sort of underlying momentum was still there, so we were able to get it back.
It's
We
just
had to
efforts.
work hard for it, but yeah.
It's like, and the hard thing is, like, you don't know that, like, just I forget how many say followers you had, but just one of those people who don't follow you now could have been a job. Like, that's the part that you can't ever
Yeah.
understand. And I remember, I couldn't remember when it happened, and I was like, well, that sucks.
I think there's almost a different brand of followers now, though. Like if you think about, it's probably easier to get followers back then.
I think in a lot of ways it was.
You're getting quality now.
I think it's
just a different, it's a completely different flavor of what we're getting now. I mean, back then, the passive house, high performance, it was a much harder sell than what it is now, right? It's still not easy, because there's a larger portion of the market, I think, that has no idea about it and just isn't aware of it.
Why? This has been our theme of the day. So I'm just totally off track. Why do you think they don't know?
I think there's a few reasons. I think as an industry, we haven't necessarily been all that strategic and all that deliberate in what we do and how we go about it. I think it's a little bit cultural. The cultural influences are from a work culture. I mean, it's should be right. We've always done it that way. Why do I want to change? We're an island. We're so far from everyone else. There's no competition. So anything that ever happened only in Australia, right? So the international influences just kind of weren't really there historically. Whereas if you take Europe, for example, like if you're one country in Europe and if you're lagging behind, you will get found out real quick. So you just can't, right? Whereas in Australia, you don't get found out so quickly.
Interesting.
Ooh, which is kind of like, I don't know whether to jump so far forward, because this is my question I have for you is like, what is the major issues with Windows in Australia?
So I reckon before you get to that,
I know, but like it's kind of linked in.
I was about to jump to some Windows specific ones too, but I actually want to know a bit more about how BINQ started.
The real story.
The real story.
So we've got like the mockumentary.
Look, his version of it was pretty close. Obviously, I have a bit of a laugh about it, but and I won't give you the full version because all the detail, because he's already broken that. But yeah, it pretty much was my brother Arnie was renovating his house, wanted a set of bifold doors, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for a set of bifold doors for 4 panels, right? And he's just looking at, like, being the typical immigrant, he's like, how much? Like, there are 4 glass door panels and some hinges. Where's, like, why am I paying $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for this, right? So, and he was always being the real sort of wheeler dealer. He'll have a crack at anything.
Yeah.
Right? He'll get into things real quick.
And no background in Windows, carpentry, trade, business.
Is he the singer?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's
correct.
Yeah.
And what a singer too, by the way. But yes, he's the singer.
Is he the one with the looks?
We're stopping the.
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. Because it's not you or Joel.
I was gonna nominate myself, but okay.
So how come you haven't got him to like sing a tune about BINQ, like a little jingle?
Oh, the big jingle.
Yeah, the BINQ jingle.
Mate, have you ever tried herding cats?
Yeah, okay. I do know. Knowing both you and Joel now, and maybe a little bit about your other brothers. Fuck, for starters, I think it's to Joel. Feel sorry for your parents. Like that would have been a freaking nightmare. But so the story that Joel told about Arnie.
Yep.
Arnie was renovating, and I think did Joel come and make the doors, or was it Arnie that made the doors?
No, look. Originally, Joel and one of his mates, Arnie and one of his mates, sat down with what effectively like almost engineering drawings, right? And they basically kind of pieced it all together, and it was a bifold door, but it was really crude. It was just a crude version of one. Didn't have a jam around it, none of that sort of stuff. Just had the top section, bottom track, and then he decided to put it on eBay because he immediately, being the opportunistic sort of fellow that he is, he's going, hang on, this has cost me like $2,000 in parts. These guys are charging me 8, 9, 10 grand for it. I reckon I can make some money out of this.
So hang on, so he built it with the view to put it in his own home,
Correct.
but it never ended up in his own home.
Well, he hung it, but it wasn't there for long because he took some photos of it, stuck it on eBay, and auctioned it, and just made a tidy profit on it. And people that missed out on the auction were like, "Hey, do you have any more? Can you make me another one for the same price?" And he just kept getting all these inquiries. And next thing he knows, he's making them in his backyard. But he then asked Joel for help as well, and Joel came around and said, "Yeah, look, sure, but it's got to be you need a jam, man. Like you can't just sell this, right?" So Joel helped him out, and Joel designed that, and then started to set up a few jigs and a few basic things, like proper backyard stuff. Yeah,
And the two of them aren't in the business anymore, which is kind of ironic. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Look, Arnie always said he only ever wanted 5, maybe 10 years. He's always been a Rolling Stone, right? So he said he wanted 5 to 10 years, and 5 years he was done. He wanted to do something else.
What's Arnie doing now?
He's always been a singer, professional singer.
Yeah.
So he makes a tidy living out of that. He has a talent business.
Yep.
And when he's not busy doing that, he actually drives buses.
Right. Okay.
So he keeps himself pretty busy.
Yeah, very busy. Does he have a family?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So recently I saw Joel making windows at his house.
Yes.
And you guys all went over and given him shit about it?
Well, yeah.
What were you
for
picking?
a little bit, but Brendan and I went over and we gave him a chop out, because he was basically setting up to do slot and tenon joins for the sashes, but on the DeWalt site saw, and so he set up a jig and all the rest of it, and he did all of it, and we were just sort of standing there watching and giving a bit of advice here and there, and it was just more just a cool thing to do, just to go and hang out with the brothers for a little bit.
Yep.
And
Do you look at like what he was doing there, and it's like it's almost going back to where you started, but do you take something away from that and then go back to BINQ and be like, oh, we're missing there's something that he's done that we've missed or forgotten about and brought that back?
Let me tell you, in no uncertain terms, if that happened, I reckon I'm done at BINQ, mate.
I know what you're saying. You've
lost like the human, not the human element, but you're in the office. Like you're not sitting there in the factory every day, but you watch him and you be like, oh, have we now not doing that, or is that like?
That's actually, I think you're on a really good train of thought here, because a lot of stuff that you guys do now is all robot operated, right?
Yeah.
Which you have to do to have a scalable business. Like I get that, but there is something beautiful in that sort of handcrafted approach.
Yeah.
And I think maybe what Matt's getting at is that, is there something that you don't see or don't pick up if you're trying to automate everything that you would see if you're actually touching, feeling, and going through that process?
Well, that cut doesn't work. Like, oh, we cut like that. Can we maybe now increase in efficiency if we do it that way?
Or does it validate the reason why you do automate and get robots involved?
No, what it did was, first of all, when we were there, all of us were looking at that and we were reminiscing. We're like, yeah, I remember when we used to do this. I remember when we were trying to work these things out and all the rest of it.
Nostalgia in that.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Honestly, it really was just a really nice experience. Just one for the bank.
Do you wish it was still like that?
Yes and no. I miss the stage when it was just my brothers and me.
And just simple. We just do a window and that's
Yeah. I miss that. I don't miss not having the knowledge and not having the expertise and not having the setup and all the rest of it and all the things that we have now. Right. I definitely don't miss that. Right. I think what we've got now is 100% the way it's got to be done in Australia. In fact, I don't think it's the way it's got to be done anywhere in the world, really. Right. If you want to manufacture a product of this nature to this level to a level of quality, that's the setup that you have to have that. It just doesn't work.
So you're playing a European supplier in an Australian market. So if you're in Europe, like as you said before, it's the next thing I got to do. It's the next thing where here you come here and it's like, whoa, look at their equipment kind of thing. But that's stock standard almost. If we went overseas, like you're still getting the best products, but yeah.
So the thing that I think you don't realize, like in this country, is that it's not just the hardware, right? It's not just like the equipment that isn't commonplace here, right? So you can't just buy secondhand gear. You've got to get, even if you want secondhand gear, you've got to buy from overseas, right? It's not just that. It's the actual knowledge that isn't here, right? There isn't anyone that we can go to and they say, hey, listen, I'm having trouble with this bloody tilt and turn window. What are we doing wrong? Because we followed all the instructions. What's wrong? Right?
Yeah,
there's no one here.
Maybe that's what I was getting at the question with Joel. Like the instructions are making it by hand. There are no instructions, but the robot there are.
Yeah,
and that's probably where I was more getting at.
Yeah. So I think that happened for us organically over the course of 10 years, right? When we were very, very hands on, and you're right. Every time you'd go out on the floor and you'd do something or you'd be involved in something. You just start picking up. Sometimes it's a slow accumulation, right, of all this stuff. And so, I suppose for me, I didn't get that out of that day, but I just got so much more. It's just, it's like, I remember that.
It was a cup filling moment, because you can look at the success that BINQ's going through at the moment, and you're looking at all the innovation that's happening, and that's great, and but you're probably not sitting in the moment and thinking, holy shit, look at where we're coming from.
Yeah.
But in that moment in Joel's garage, you're probably like, maybe, and again, maybe I'm just putting words in your mouth, maybe it was a realization of actually how far you'd come.
It was. There was definitely a moment like that. And I actually said to Joel as well, while he was trying to fine-tune his jig and putting the actual joints together, the test piece, I actually looked at Brendan and Joel and said, you remember when we had no idea any of this stuff? We had absolutely no idea. It was just all of us with some opinion. A lot of it was just completely unfounded, right? And it was just trial and error.
Yeah.
Right? But that wasn't trial and error. That was 45 years of joint experience in one moment.
Yeah.
Going, no, you got to do this. You need to do that. If you don't do that, that's going to happen. And we all knew it, right? And that was it was definitely one of those realization moments.
So why do Australian windows suck? Okay. Let me rephrase this. Why do 99% of Australian windows suck?
Do you know what? Maybe rephrase that question. So
Okay.
it's a little bit more.
Why do fucking most Australian windows suck?
Okay, great. That's better. Okay.
Righto, okay.
And what then sets apart with what you're doing?
So I think in Australia, well, no, let me be more specific. In Victoria, there's a misconception, I think, fundamentally, that we aren't cold enough to be uncomfortable in our homes. Like the weather's not cold enough.
So stupid.
It doesn't get hot enough. Like all of these reasons, right? But if you look at our temperature variance, right? We will go in this is Victoria. We'll go from minus degrees to 40 degrees, right? It's a massive temperature range,
50-degree swing,
right? And there's this misconception, right? And I think a lot of it starts there. So the buyer values aren't pushing it. The second part of this is that the regulations aren't pushing it either. So it's going to be one or the other, right? And preferably both. You've got to have, I think, the market pushing it and saying, hey, we want this stuff. But you've also got to have the policymakers saying, well, you know what, this is actually good policy, right? Because there's all this talk about climate change. There's always talk about cost of energy and spiraling out of control, and they make a big deal out of it, right? And everyone focuses on the burning of coal and the energy creation. They're focused on cars, right? Or you're using internal combustion engines and fossil fuels, blah blah. Yet you've got this house that's leaking like an absolute sieve, and it's sucking energy, right? And no one's talking about that. And that part I don't get. Right? I don't understand that. Like it's such a hole. It's literally a massive hole in millions of houses around Australia, right? And we are dumping energy to maintain a level of comfort. And by the way, we're not doing it all that well either. Because if you were to, you guys know, if you were to graph the temperature variance in a house while you're awake and you've got the heater on, it's like a high frequency graph, right?
It's like a roller coaster. It's Luna Park.
Yeah. And it's just uncomfortable, right? Whereas, if that were not the case, if it were well insulated and tight, you'd have a much more of a flat line. You'd be comfortable. You'd be using less energy. But there's not a lot of discussion about that. That's why I think the things that you guys are doing is fantastic.
I think leaky windows is one thing, but there are so many other parts of a window that make it a good window. So airtightness is one thing.
Yeah. How about just keeping water out?
Keeping water out is something.
Which is not a given for some window companies.
So I know that I can go and buy much cheaper windows than the windows that you're providing. Yep. So what is the major differences or some of the differences that your windows are ticking from box point of view than others aren't? And, go into U values, go into thermal bridging, like all of that kind of stuff.
The way we've set up our designs and our manufacturing, I guess we saw that the trends had to be heading in a certain direction. They had to be heading towards higher performance. And so from the very start, we set up our designs to be suitable for double glazing. So the transition for us from single to double was like a non-event.
Yeah.
Okay. We changed from single when we started with single glazing, right?
And at that point, we're talking strictly timber.
Yep, correct.
Yep.
Strictly timber.
Yeah.
And we went from single to double glazing in a very short time because our designs, we designed them already to suit double glazing. Whereas a lot of the other guys have been doing it for longer, it was a big change for them.
All their tooling had to change?
Perceived as a big change. There's not a lot of tooling. They just couldn't get their head around it. And I'm being honest about it.
It's just a wider...
Yeah, right. It's just a deeper rebate.
I can understand the jump if, say, an UPVC or aluminium or aluclad extrusion wouldn't fit.
Yeah, the whole moulding tool would change.
We're talking about timber.
Correct. So the alu guys for sure, they had a lot more work to do.
Yep.
And I'm assuming they write or are on the standards code boards for a lot of these window issues to protect
of course.
The aluminium brand when it's the largest proportion of windows in Australia as a high percentage. But if you look at everywhere else in the world, I think, is it UPVC is referred to as white gold in Europe?
It was referred to white gold in the UK.
Yes. You're right. It's like everywhere else in the world uses UPVC.
Yeah.
We're just in aluminium here for some reason.
Yeah. Look, the aluminium guys did a fantastic job of really cementing their position in the market. And again, I think they were quite strategic about it. So you've got to give them credit where credit's due. They ran the business very well. Okay, it just wasn't a very good product for the consumers. But also, I'll say in Victoria, there's just this push to have, a big house, 2-story, this, that, double garage, triple garage, fancy car, and all the rest of it, right? But it's just like it's quantity. There's such a shift, I think, away from quality into quantity, right? And the worst part is, I think Australians, we're a wealthy country. The middle class is super, super strong. We've got disposable income. And most Australians, I think, if you present the options to them, they're actually happy to spend the money on something better. They're just not being presented the actual options very, very well. And I think that's, for us as an industry, That's what we need to do. We need to regain our position in terms of PVC and timber windows, for example, or high performance windows. We need to regain that position, and we need to take some of that stuff back that was ours to start with, that we allowed the aluminium guys to take over.
Are they normal? So I'm going to semi pick apart your marketing message from in a good way. Like high performance windows.
Yep.
Aren't they just the window that everyone should have?
Yes.
And I feel like there's a messaging there that like it's seen, and I think the word high performance sometimes seen, and we've been talking about this actually, common theme of today is it's a bit of scary. It's like, how do you market high performance? Like, oh, I just want the normal window. Yeah. But the reality is with a UPVC window, that is the normal window that everyone should have.
Yeah. Look, yes, it is. But when you're catering to the market that we cater to, right, the general market, if we said, hey, this is just a standard window, they would expect it to have a standard price. Right? But the cost components are different. Like, you can't make a window to work as well as what ours does without using better hardware, without using better...
But your UPVC is the same price as aluminium, though.
We need to recalibrate our mind of what a standard window should be.
Yeah.
And then move on from there.
But UPVC is this like, I literally did an experiment on it with the rifle range project that we did. And for shits and gigs, I thought I'd send it off to aluminium suppliers, and some very well-known ones. Some I just not so well, because I wanted to see the price differential in it. Firstly, 2 of them come back with single glazed, ignoring the whole double glaze with the low E coating. So firstly, you actually listened to the brief, which was...
Or even read the energy report.
No, I didn't send an energy report. I just told what the brief was.
Yep.
So being quoted as per the brief. I had 2 come back just saying single glaze was okay, and I'm like, well, it's not. 1 just come back with double glaze. I'm like, no, you need the low E coating, and their excuse was, oh no, that adds a huge amount of cost. And then I was like, okay, guys, you've all missed the thermal bridge free design. And they're like, oh, that will just make it too expensive. When you actually start to factor in the like for like, the UPVC was substantially cheaper. And I think the issue is like, you guys are so honest with your messaging and the high performance, and this is what we're going to give you, where the opposite side is like, we're just going to give you the bare minimum, and we'll hit you later once the energy report comes through, or once we've got to tidy that up later. And that's a huge issue, I think, within the aluminium market. Personally, it was really eye-opening, and maybe again I'm in a bubble, and I just thought that was a horrible experience.
Can I just sit in the elephant in the room for a second? But UPVC is plastic.
Yep.
So as our membranes were sitting right behind.
Oh, exactly. But this is a common I don't know, point of contention that we need to have a conversation with clients about. And
so is there joinery.
I get it all. So how can we? Because clients are like, oh well, aluminium's it's complete, it's recyclable. We can pull the glass out and we can recycle it, and you can do it 100 times, 1,000 times. You can keep going because aluminium is, you can just keep melting it down and redoing it. Why would I, from a sustainability point of view, choose UPVC over aluminium?
Well, there are some very, very good reasons. First of all, the embodied carbon in PVC extrusion is significantly less than aluminium. I don't know if you've ever seen an aluminium smelter. Yep. It's basically massive cauldrons with probes going into it. Massive amounts of electricity going into the plant, right? That's it.
And then to melt it and make it again, there's a high carbon content.
So there's a massive amount of energy to actually produce aluminium in the first place. When you're using aluminium for doors and windows in this instance, because they conduct energy so well, they're not doing you any favors in terms of reducing the energy of the house, right? Yes, you can recycle it, for sure. If you take PVC, the embodied carbon to produce PVC in the first instance is significantly less. When you use it in a door or window, you're getting a product that actually insulates extremely well, like poles apart from aluminium. And the third thing is the lifespan of PVC windows is actually so great that the PVC extruders they actually find it difficult to get recycled content because they've got to wait so long for end of life windows. Right? So in Europe, the extruders are mandated; they have to use a certain amount of recycled content. the PVC extrusions that we use here to make windows
From Aluplast.
from Aluplast, they already have recycled content.
Which at your stalls I've seen it shows like you can play with the little balls. So, like you've got the little
Yeah.
box that has the recycled component
correct,
that it goes
correct.
into it.
And Aluplast actually, and again, just a shout out to Aluplast. And this is, there was a couple of reasons why we paired up with Aluplast. One of the reasons is they recognize our values. They know what we're about. They know what's important. They've already got a recycling program.
Of course, because they're European.
They will take all of our offcuts. So all of our offcuts don't go into the bin. Yeah, they go into an Aluplast bin. Goes in the Aluplast truck. On the return trip from delivering goods to us, so they're not using carbon to bring it back to their factory either, right? And then they recycle it there, and then it goes across.
They're spreading the carbon. They're spreading the carbon. Yeah.
Sure, right? And it then goes across the bay, and there's a company that then
Grinds
repurposes it, and I believe they make furniture out of it.
Oh, that's
right?
cool.
So that program is already happening, right? And that's just in Australia, but as I said, in Europe, they've got much higher mandates, right? So again, like the stuff we're using has already got recycled content, and it can get recycled again. We just got to wait 20 odd years before the windows are done.
I think the issue with plastic, huge issue, microplastics in society, totally agree, but it's also so useful. Like we're not going to go to, like if you're in surgery, look at how many tools in a surgery unit would use plastic. Are they going to say, you can't use them?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Like-
we're certainly not.
I know, but like the thing is, plastic's such an easy thing to jump on. And it's like we spoke about at the start about the whole emissions thing and the amount of energy, the coal, and people jump on the plastic straws and for a good reason, but there's bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. So just to indicate how good a conductor aluminium is, and I'm hoping I'll get this right, Cameron, because I was reading over a presentation Cameron's doing tomorrow.
Yep.
To get the equivalent of R2 insulation with aluminium, I think it's over 400 meters.
I've heard the similar numbers as
Yeah,
well.
over 400 meters
So
to
that's
get an
a-
R2 value.
That's the whole athletics track.
Yeah, around.
Yeah.
All the way around. It's got to be that deep to meet equivalent of R2.
Yep.
So that's how good of a thermal conductor it is. If you imagine it's only what?
Well, there's a reason we use metal in our pans.
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole reason? Like we have metal pots. We don't use plastic pots because they don't.
You know,
conduct
I guess
heat.
the reason I'm bringing that up is that that's just to try and really sort of get in people's minds how good what's actually happening if it's thermally broken.
Yep.
Like you'll touch it in summer, it'll be hot. In winter, it'll be cold.
And people wonder why shit can the steel framing industry.
I certainly don't wonder. But
Look, the other thing that hasn't really hit our shores just yet, but it's on its way. When the mandates come in and they start forcing the average build to get sealed up just a little bit better, you're going to have quite potentially condensation issues too.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
And again,
it'll already be happening.
yeah, so this and these are all things that happen in Europe as well, right? So they learned that, they worked it out. That's why they got HRVs and all the rest of it, right?
It's so frustrating that you have Europe who worked it out, and then you have America who have gone, hey, we'll copy it, who then Canada copied it, and then New Zealand copied it, and then we're going to copy it in Australia, and we're the dumbest of all. We already seen 6 examples of it not working, but we go, let's maybe be the 7th that it might work here.
Yeah, there really is. There's just such a resistance
Yeah, that's the perfect word.
to change, right? Some of these fundamental things. Yeah, look, I don't know. I guess maybe the policymakers don't want to make too drastic a policy change too quickly, and I get that, but there's got to be a roadmap, right? I mean, there's got to be,
I think that's my biggest problem. That's my
15
biggest
years,
issue at the moment. There's like, oh no, it's too expensive. Let's freeze the code. But okay, well, show me how we're getting there.
Yeah.
And that's not happening at the moment.
Yeah.
So I want to circle back to the windows. So how are your windows solving this condensation problem, this comfort problem, this health problem?
Okay, so again, full disclosure, we actually for a little while we tinkered with an aluminium window, like as an imported product. We thought, and the reason we did it is because we were only manufacturing timber, and we felt like we were alienating some of particularly our builder clients, because builders are often using aluminium. They'd only come to us maybe once a year, once every 18 months for that timber project. We thought, okay, well, this might be a way for us to, to strengthen that relationship. And we tried it. We bailed on it pretty quickly. For lots of reasons. The import thing just didn't work for us. We're a manufacturing business. But the second thing is, it's not what we're about.
Yeah.
You knowing what we know, like you can't unlearn it, right? I know how badly those aluminium windows are going to perform, and I can't bring myself to convince a client to buy them, right? Even though it's an easier sell because it's a cheaper product, right? I just couldn't do it.
When is cheaper ever better?
Look, I don't know. I'm sure if I thought long and hard enough, there is an example, but
Yeah.
often it's not. Not often market forces prevail, right? I think that's the underlying concept behind everything, right? I mean, if it's really really cheap, you got to think, well, how is it that cheap? There's got to be a reason, right? So yeah, but I mean, there are some outliers, some exceptions, but yeah, generally speaking, I think you're right. You just need to be, I think, open-minded about it and make an informed decision. And in fact, that is one of the things that I really promote with my clients. I'll always tell my clients, I said, I'm not here to sell you anything, right? It's in my interest that you buy from me, but I'm not here to sell you something. What I'm here to do is I'm here to give you information. You make an informed decision because you're spending a fair chunk of your money on doors and windows, and I want you to be comfortable and confident that the decision you made is the right decision with everything in front of you, right?
Yep.
And that I think that doesn't happen often.
So I want to go back to something I was asking about before, like I guess what separates a good window versus a bad window. So what are some of the things that people should be looking for when they're comparing windows? Because we shouldn't just be looking at price. We should be looking at, okay, what are some of the 3 or 4 things that people need to be looking at when they're trying to make a selection about windows?
Three key things to start you off with. The first is U value.
Yep.
The second is your SHGC, and the third is air infiltration.
Can you add a third? Water ingress?
Fourth.
A fourth? Yeah, can't count.
Well,
sure, there's a pressure of like water ingress.
The reason that I didn't specifically mention that is because that's
air, right? You get water.
base level requirement. I mean, you can't have a window that leaks water.
I don't quote me this. I'm pretty sure the NCC says a window has to have the ability to be sealed. The ability.
Yes. Yeah, there are lots of those types of statements.
Yeah.
In the code.
And what kind of U values are we looking? We want to be looking at?
Look, you really want a U value that's around the 1.5 or lower.
Yep.
Okay. So at 1.5 or lower, you're getting a window that is insulating very well. Okay. The SHGC is a little bit trickier because in the colder climates you want a higher SHGC because you want that winter warmth to reduce your heating load.
Yeah.
But as you get further north, and when we do projects in Sydney, north of Sydney, Queensland, it's very much about the cooling load, and so we have to use different glass to keep the insulative value low, but also keep the solar heat gain low as well.
Yep. So SHGC is solar heat gain coefficient for those playing along at home.
Yep. And then all of that, I think, is all but useless if the window leaks air like a sieve.
Yep.
Right? It doesn't matter how. It's like having a wall with the highest insulation you can get in the wall, but having a great big hole in the middle of it. And you're going to be cold.
And just further to that, you can have the best window in the world, and if it's not properly installed,
Correct.
then you may as well just go and buy an aluminium window from down the road.
Correct. So, for the longest time, we really were very, very focused on the manufacturing and the delivery of a product. But over the last 2 or 3 years, we've shifted focus a little bit, only because we're confident and comfortable that the product we're manufacturing now, we've got that worked out. There's not a lot of effort that we need to put into that. What we do need to do is we need to think about the full picture. It's not just speccing up a window properly and making and delivering it, but what happens after that? It's that total ownership to the client is what we're and as part of that, we run these workshops, online workshops, as part of the confirmation process. We get the wall type drawings. We'll put our windows into the wall drawings, and then we start to talk to guys like yourselves about, hey, where do you want in the wall? Where do you want this window to sit?
Yep.
How are you going to wrap this up? How are you going to fix it? How are you going to get it airtight? All of those things, all that detail we capture,
and
we
improve
do it on
on
a project basis.
and improve on it.
Yeah.
So, opening in a wall is the worst part of any house. Like we're cutting a square in most instances out of our membrane, which means water can get in. But it also means we have a thermal barrier, and that's why we talk about the U value. And what I was just double checking then. So your values are down about, you say U value of 2, which is
One and a half.
Yeah, so
1.5
yeah,
and
which is nearly the equivalent of like 0.75 roughly. So we wouldn't sit there and put 0.75 R insulation in our walls, if that makes sense. We're putting R4. At minimum, you think most people are putting an R2, 2.5. That's one of the highest performing windows in the Australian market is sitting at 0.75. You're down the 0.1s if you're looking at something crap, like substantially worse. And I don't think people understand how quickly that value can really drop and how that increase in the window performance can actually have a huge effect.
And the reality is that
on the performance.
The easiest way to combat that is to live in a dark box.
Yeah.
But we're not going to live in a dark box.
Yeah.
Because the view's over there, and we want to see that, and we want to live.
Yeah.
We want to have connection with.
You want to get
nature.
as insulated as possible in that glazing value.
Yep. But people, you do need to understand the impact that a really poorly performing window is going to have on your thermal comfort.
Yeah. And look, the other thing too that I think is really worth noting, right, is that this isn't my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? If you without too much effort, you can find information that supports what I'm saying at energy.gov, Sustainability Victoria. There's like a whole bunch of these places that actually will tell you outright, yeah, you probably don't want to use an aluminium window. You want to use double glazing. You want to use better performing glass. You want to use low conducting materials, and they do all this stuff, right?
All this new thing called ChatGPT. You could type it in, and it'll give you a pretty clear answer across the world.
Yeah, look, and again, like you can validate that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just ChatGPT coming up with someone that's written up a little blog on their own.
It's not BINQ
It's
who have written
credible.
this, yeah.
It's credible references, right?
It's not BINQ who have flooded the market with false
Or
information.
maybe they have. I don't know. Maybe they've got a really good SEO.
But I work on the principle that if you provide 90% of fact, 10% fluff probably goes unnoticed.
Oh yeah, that's right. So just for everyone, our battery went dead in the camera before, so we're trying to figure out where the fuck we're up to.
So,
No, keep it in. Keep it in.
Okay,
Keep
yeah,
it
we
in.
think we fixed it up.
Keep it in. We fixed it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we're talking about we're not living in a big dark box,
Yeah.
right? And it's not just you pushing an agenda around, well, you should use my windows because they're low U values and all that kind of stuff. Like, we want to have that connection with nature, but we need to understand why. We need to understand why we need to have good performing windows. And you're not making it up.
No, this is information that's widely available. In fact, we started down this path because we were looking for the information, and this is what we came across, and it just made sense. We traveled overseas and did a lot of research, and then everything just points all in the same direction.
Yep. How long's BINQ been in operation for?
16 years.
16 years. So I'm curious to understand maybe what the last 5 years looks like, because I reckon up to that point, trying to get across the line these high performance windows, trying to set, like, high performance probably wasn't even something that we'd talked about 5 or 6 years ago. Have you seen the market change now? And have you seen like that in sales and growth in BINQ over the last few years of that kind of knowledge growing?
Yes, the market has changed significantly. I'm always watching it. Are you aware of the diffusion of innovation?
No.
It's a bell curve. So you know what a bell curve is, obviously.
Yes,
Right? You draw a bell curve,
yeah.
and it's separated into segments
Yeah.
of the bell curve, right? And at the very, very start of the left-hand side of the bell curve, it's like bleeding edge, like people that are just looking for whatever's brand new. I
Yeah.
want it just because it's new.
Yeah.
Then you get like sort of the early adopters.
Which is like the mean, yeah? That's like the... Is that like the... is that going back to old...
He's talking about outliers. On a
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then next to that is like your early adopters,
Yeah.
right? So people that are quite progressive and they're watching what's going on and they jump onto the trends quite early on. Then you've got this next section, right? Which when you get into that, it's called a chasm. When you switch over from early adopters into this kind of mainstream. Once you get that, it has its own momentum, and then the rest of the market just kind of follows suit. And at the very, very end of it, you got the laggards who just go down kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
Right? But they're like an equally small portion on the other end of the bell curve.
Yeah.
Right? And so
But
what
they're usually the loudest.
they
Well,
they can be the
I would
loudest.
say that both.
So where I reckon we are is we're at the tail end of early adopters, and I reckon we're about to get into a really exciting stage where we start to get that critical mass that where the majority of people have a tilt and turn window or just generally a window that actually works well. Right,
Such a weird
that's
concept.
airtight. That when you close it, the sound really dies down. Like you're in control of the environment, not it's leaking just because it's leaking, right? And once that happens, all of a sudden it just becomes that's the normal. Then all of a sudden you look at this other stuff and you go, oh, is that what I've got? I don't really want that anymore. Right, let's ask some questions.
Yep.
And I reckon it's a really exciting time for us.
So what's the next innovation in Windows that you see being the game changer?
I think as a broad category, I think it's got to be the composite windows, for sure. So alu-clad, timber window with aluminium. So look, it's not going to be for everyone and for every project, right? But we also recognise that, which is why we've got PVC windows, we've got timber windows, and at some stage we will have alu-clad as well, right? Ideally, the vast majority of clients would have an alu-clad window because it's the warmth and the beauty,
definitely
on the inside.
It's usually the
maintenance.
on the want of the
correct.
high on the wants list.
Correct.
Yep.
Right. So I think that's the next thing. But watch the space because we've got, as part of that release, when we're ready to release it, will be a suite of windows that I think is actually going to get some really good traction in the market. And I think it might disrupt a few things
Where do you
in
go?
a very positive way.
Where do you go? Do you just go see what's happening in Europe? Is that there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably just go observe. Have a
Yeah,
look what's
there's
going
so every 2 years there's a window exhibition called Fensterbau in Nuremberg in Germany. Joel and I first went to that.
That's the biggest building conference in the world, isn't it? Or,
No, you're
I'm thinking Bow.
You're talking about Bow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
That's
di-
Bauer,
so different, okay.
Different. This is specifically for doors and windows.
So Fenster is windows, isn't it?
Fenster's windows.
Fenster's windows,
And
yeah.
Bauer's construction.
That's like crazy when you'd go to like a full window seminar, whatever, conference, and everyone's trying to showcase their little bit of technology.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I bet they're all competing, but they're all like probably spying on each other too.
Yeah, look, 100%. Look, it's a way of rapidly expediting your knowledge of what the industry is doing. Right? You go there once every 2 years and go, yep, that's new, seen that before. Okay, that's getting traction. That's not. I saw this last time, but don't see it here anymore. So one of the things that's happening is the Europeans are getting really big about fly screens. They never used to be.
Yeah.
I saw way more fly screen manufacturers and suppliers than I've ever done at that show.
Interesting.
Right? And it's climate change. Lots more mosquitoes.
I was just
and-
about to say, is it
Yeah.
so climate just because there's more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Italy has a massive problem because of all the imports from China. This is not a slur on China in any way, shape, or form. It's just fact is what happened. There's a particular type of an insect, and they call it a stink bug. Right? We have stink bug alerts here in Australia. Every now and then we get the alerts from port, and the stuff gets quarantined. Right? But they don't have the same level of controls there. They've got an infestation of stink bug. Apparently these things, they smell like sewer. So the Italians are going ballistic, putting screens on all their windows to try and keep these things out. Right? So there's all of these sorts of things that are happening, right? So, but you find these things out when you go to these places, but you have to do the work. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to get in the plane. You've got to go over there. The cop the 24-hour flight there and all the rest of it that comes with it.
So all I'm hearing is that you're saying that Australia was ahead of the curve with us having fly screens on our windows.
That's probably giving us a little bit more credit than we didn't have a choice. We just got shitloads of flies around.
All right, we're going to wrap this up and jump into our mindful moment sponsored by MEGT, Australia's leading apprenticeship experts. You've just brought up a word, comfort zone, and it kind of triggered a really good idea in my brain is doing an apprenticeship is getting out of your comfort zone. I had a bit of beef in my own head recently around the whole, I see a lot of social media stuff trying to build up the whole university thing and try to build up, hey, go to uni, do this, but we don't see enough on trades. And I feel there's still the stigma attached with trades, and it's not seen as cool. And we have a huge shortage of trades at the moment in Australia. And the reason I say comfort zone is I feel there's still this stigma that it's a dirty work, it's not fun. I know you loved your apprenticeship, Haim, but at the moment,
Just for clarity, I never did my apprenticeship,
okay.
but I definitely did my time.
yeah. So doing apprenticeship is getting out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
Majorly, like you are in the trenches. Sometimes it sucks. You're working out in the rain. You're working out in the heat. But I think, and I'll ask both of you, I don't think there's ever been a better time to get into an apprenticeship with the huge shortage we have. If you care in this industry, you will go far just from the fact of caring.
Well, I think the jobs are safe as well.
Yeah. So
From a technology and AI point of view, like I feel like hands-on practical trades or jobs are probably one of the safest around.
And I know the government at the moment, the Australian government, have given, I think $10,000 to anyone looking to get into a residential trade as a bonus over 3 years. So there's a government Australian subsidy that if you've signed up from the 1st of July 2025, there's a 10 grand bonus that you will get across the years to jump into the residential side, not the commercial side. And that's things like carpenters, bricklayers, plasterers, glaziers. Like it's the trades that we need way more of. Tilers. It's not your electrical on a data center. It's not your plumbing in a commercial sector or a carpenter in a commercial sector. It's hitting the residential market, which is where we need to get more people in. So that's my mindful moment of this week. But anyway,
Can I just add something there very quickly?
Yeah.
I've just got a little story, if that's okay. You mentioned before, that the stigma attached to being taken on a trade vocation, right? So, make reference back to the flog.
Yeah.
When he finished school, went to uni, right, and he just really wasn't enjoying it, and he's told you the story, and I know that I've heard the podcast. He had the conversation with me about. He said, "Look, I don't really want to do this. I actually think I want to be a carpenter." And my immediate reaction was, "Okay." I always thought you had to go to university, right? That's the way to do it. And I had a chat with a couple of people in my family and some other friends as well, and got to put a bit of perspective on it. And then I came back to him and I gave him my counsel, and I said, you know what? If that's what you want to do it. I think it's a really good path. I think if you love it, you'll do well at it. And in any case, you're a smart guy. I think you'll do well at anything.
Yeah.
Right? And imagine if he didn't overcome, or if the situation didn't overcome the stigma attached with being a trade, and if he didn't become a carpenter and then didn't become a builder, we wouldn't have
BINQ.
Another quality.
Well, you wouldn't have BINQ.
Well, we wouldn't have BINQ. We wouldn't have another quality person in the industry.
Yeah, I agree.
Doing all this sort of stuff, right? And so, 100%. That stigma that's got to go.
Oh,
right?
100%. I totally.
It's got to go. We need more people going into trades and doing all this stuff. There's plenty of money to be made in it.
Yep, totally agree.
If anyone wants to get their windows, now you Australia-wide?
We are Eastern Seaboard.
Yep.
Adelaide and WA gets logistically a little bit complicated.
Makes sense.
Yep.
But if anyone wants to get onto you, what's the best way? How they contact you? Website, Instagram?
Yeah, look, jump onto www.bink.com.au. That's probably
BINQ.
BINQ. And that's for Brothers Incorporated.
And
sorry, Joel, stop.
yeah, if you want to know more about that,
He's such a
want-
such a flog. He
want-
knew what he was doing. He did it deliberately. Miserable prick that he is.
We probably did bait him a little bit. We probably did set him up. We're
Look,
probably going to have to take
Look,
some responsibility for that.
In all fairness, I don't reckon he would have taken a lot of bait. He was ready to bite anyway. So.
look, both Hamish and I have worked with your windows multiple times. I've used your timber and your UPVC. We've got your UPVC in multiple certified passive house projects. So they do work from a performance perspective. when we get down to the nerdy stuff. But thank you for everything you've done for both of us. We're super excited to what you guys have in the future.
And also thank you for your support for SBA as well. We really appreciate that.
Pleasure, mate. Anything that we can do to keep promoting?
Just give us more money. Yeah, so that's what you. That's what you can do.
Anything you want. Ow!
All right, thanks, Andre.
Thank you.
See ya.